Welcome to our next episode of Squash Tigers Explainer Series. Today we'll be dealing with our 5 trainables. So you'll hear that quite frequently at training, both with kids and in my interactions with parents. Very much the bumper sticker informal version is right beside me, and you'll find that on the website. We normally call it a SMART training system. Not the greatest acronym of all time, but you get the general idea. We have a program that is hopefully relatively holistic and looks at all aspects of athlete development. Not just the grip, not just the tactics, not just the physicality, the whole 9 yards, so everything about them. So we go very quickly across the acronym strategy. Now, we're not playing golf. It's not just a swing that matters. It's not just a technical sport. It's not running, where it's not swimming, where the only opponent is yourself. You're actually trying to mess with other people. You're actually trying to win a competitive advantage in a dynamic environment. So strategy is a paramount part of all aspects of our program. Again, at different times of year, it may take a greater or a lesser amount of importance, but certainly if you have to prioritize times of year, so that autumn, so the fall and into winter, in that prime competitive series, that strategy becomes one of the biggest parts of it all. Mental skills. Useless being a lovely player if you can't perform. And if I had $1 for every time someone's told me that they were a wonderful practice player and couldn't manage to take this into matches, I'd be a millionaire. I'd still be doing the job I'm doing because I love the job I'm doing, but I'd be a millionaire doing the job that I'm doing. Now, it does help that when I returned to do my master's after my playing career, I was in sports psychology. So I wasn't coaching squash. I'd be pretty much in that sports psychology world. I feel a real love for that. And I believe that the big advancements made for all players are in that psychological area. So that's very closely mirrored in a periodized sense in all aspects of our curriculum. Athleticism is our third letter in our acronym SMART. Athleticism important. No point being the most skillful, cleverest player on the court if you just don't have the racket speed. And we do need to be able to smack a ball. We do need to be able to run quickly, and we need to be able to do it for quite a long time. Up until under 17s, normally we have about 8-minute games, 90 seconds rest in between, repeated 4 or 5 times. That gives us about 50 minutes of fairly intense effort. And that's a big deal. So we need to be trained up for that. And just playing squash doesn't always give us the athleticism that we need. In addition to that, our off-court program of activities acts to try and make sure that we prevent the children from getting overuse injuries and launch into what we call prehab. So the prevention of injuries rather than merely the treatment of injuries after they occur. So in many ways, that off-court component is as important as teaching them how to hold the racket properly. Real-world skills. In a nutshell, we also acknowledge that we have student athletes, not athlete students, student athletes. And so there are 2 components to that, one of which is a real commitment to facilitating their academic goals. So whether that be a more flexible training schedule when they're littler, or whether it be assisting in the recruitment process when they're a little bit older, we are very much attuned to that whole notion of the real world. Finally, in terms of real world skills, we are looking at individuals who are teammates, who are competent, who are courteous, who are reasonable, who are performing on court not only in a highly skilled fashion, but also in an ethical fashion. It's, as I said, a holistic program. So we're not just looking at winners, we're looking at winners who are also portraying the sort of characteristics we would like in young men and young women. Finally, that technical literacy. T is only because it's last in SMART. It's not because technical aspects are unimportant. They're important. If you don't have the correct technique, you probably can't play squash. I think the only mistake that sometimes people make is that they emphasize technique year-round. So it's always important, but again, you can't train all of the things all of the time. So at different stages, we are more inclined to speak to the players about where they're hitting the ball as opposed to only how they're hitting the ball. So just be a little bit wary. I always like a neat swing as much as the next man. I like precision. I like all those sorts of things. But technique, although important, is not the only aspect of the sport. Complex decision-making sport. Closest thing we have to a combat sport without being in a dangerous situation. So again, it's important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Anyway, that was our Squash Tigers Explainer Series number several, whatever we're up to by now. Again, if you have any questions, please email me, paul@squashtigers.com. I'll find time to talk to you directly. Call into the club, speak to me, we'll have a Zoom, whatever. It's much better to have that series of conversations and to ask exactly what we're doing rather than just to speculate. I love my squash. I'm always happy to have that sort of a conversation about where we are in the curriculum, where we are in the year, and what the model calls for in terms of your child's development. Take care of that. See you at the club soon.